On a soft spring evening in Seoul, when the dusk settled tenderly over the rooftops of Hanam-dong and the faint hum of the city blended with a murmuring breeze from the Han River, something quietly extraordinary unfolded, something the public had long speculated about but never truly expected to be confirmed. The air was warm enough for the windows to be cracked open, allowing the scent of fresh magnolia to drift across the neighborhood, but cool enough to create a sense of intimacy inside the Jung family home. It was the kind of night where secrets seemed ready to surface and emotions felt more exposed than usual. For weeks, fans of actor Jung Hae had been whispering, debating, and wondering whether the rumors surrounding his deepening relationship with actress Jung So-min were real. Their chemistry at events had been noticeable, comfort around each other undeniable. Yet both remained gracefully silent despite the media chatter swirling around them. Some believed the rumors were exaggerated. Others insisted there was more between them than the public had been shown. But no one, not even the most devoted fans, expected what happened next. The truth began quietly when Jung Hae brought someone important home to meet his parents at their residence in Hanam-dong, an elegant yet warm family house perched near Hanam Hill. The home was known to close friends for its serene interior, decorated with soft lighting, traditional wooden accents, and framed family photos that reflected decades of shared memories. The house overlooked the Han River through a long glass window in the living room, a view that made the home feel peaceful, almost detached from the bustle of Seoul just beyond the hill. Tonight, however, peace gave way to a subtle, tingling anticipation. Jung So-min arrived with a level of modesty that immediately surprised anyone who knew her only through the screen. Wearing a simple beige knit sweater with a flowy cream skirt, she looked less like the confident, witty actress who lit up dramas and more like a gentle young woman stepping carefully into a new chapter of her life. In her hands, she held a small gift wrapped with delicate care, a handmade tea box she had designed herself after hearing that Han's mother loved collecting herbal blends. It was a gesture thoughtful enough to reveal the sincerity behind her visit. When she stepped into the Jung family's entryway, she paused to bow respectfully, greeting his parents with a soft voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for having me," she said, her tone warm yet subdued. Han's mother, who had seen her countless times on television, was momentarily struck by how different she seemed in real life. On screen, So-min was radiant, expressive, effortlessly charismatic. Standing here in their home, she seemed delicate, almost shy, as if every movement she made was chosen with intention. The family moved into the living room, where warm lighting cast a golden glow across the wood-grain floor. As they sat down, So-min gently placed the gift on the table and explained that she had prepared the tea herself, selecting ingredients that were good for fatigue and stress. "I heard you've been taking care of your health," she added softly to Han's mother, who blinked in surprise at the unexpected thoughtfulness. Han watched quietly from the side, a faint smile hinting at his admiration. He had always known that the world saw only fragments of Jung So-min, the talented actress, the bright personality, the comedic charm, but here, in the presence of his parents, she revealed something deeper. Her real self was gentle, attentive, almost heartbreakingly sincere. As they moved to the dining area for dinner, the shift in atmosphere became even more apparent. So-min didn't simply sit down and wait to be served, she stood beside Han's mother, offering to help set the table. Whenever she noticed the slightest strain or hesitation in the older woman's movements, she stepped in without drawing attention to herself. At one point, when Mrs. Jung reached for a heavy ceramic bowl with her slightly stiff wrist, So-min immediately intervened, saying softly, "Please, allow me." Her tone wasn't forceful, it was warm with a sincerity that brought an unexpected smile to the older woman's face. Throughout dinner, So-min's personality continued to reveal itself in small, meaningful ways. Rather than dominating the conversation, she listened carefully, nodded thoughtfully, and only spoke when spoken to, but when she did, her words carried depth. When Mr. Jung asked about her childhood, she hesitated shyly before sharing a memory about caring for her grandmother during an illness. "I learned that love doesn't need to be loud," she said gently. "Sometimes the quietest forms of love stay with you the longest." Her comment lingered in the air longer than expected. It was not said dramatically or with any intent to impress, it simply slipped out, honest and unpolished. Mr. and Mrs. Jung exchanged a brief glance, both touched by the weight of her words. Outside the window, the flickering lights of passing cars reflected in the river, creating ripples of color that danced across the walls, almost mirroring the emotional shift happening inside the home. As the conversation carried on, Han remained observant, his eyes filled with pride each time she spoke. Often leaned slightly forward when she answered a question, absorbing every detail all over again. Every small gesture, how she tucked her hair behind her ear when she grew shy, how she bowed slightly each time she thanked his parents, how she smiled quietly instead of laughing loudly, revealed the version of herself she rarely allowed the public to see. The time dinner ended. What began as a polite meeting had transformed into something unexpectedly intimate. When So-min stepped outside for a quick phone call, Mrs. Jung leaned toward her son, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is not what I imagined," she said thoughtfully. "She is much warmer." And opened his mouth to respond. But before he could speak, his mother added softly, almost dreamily, "If someone like her became part of our family, I would be grateful." The words struck Han with a mix of relief and emotion. He didn't react outwardly. Instead, he simply lowered his eyes, absorbing the significance of what had just been said. What he didn't know, what no one knew yet, was that his mother's comment was only the beginning. Because when So-min stepped back inside, evening moved toward its quiet ending. His father said something that would later send fans into an uproar across social media, causing headlines to erupt and the entertainment world to enter a state of breathless wonder. But for now, the moment sat suspended, and glowing like the soft lights filling the Hanam-dong home, a moment before revelation. A moment before everything changed. The night deepened over Hanam-dong, the street lamps casting warm halos across the quiet pavement as the conversations inside the Jung family home softened into the gentle rhythm of comfort. The earlier tension had faded entirely, replaced by a warmth that only grows when hearts begin to open. As the dishes were cleared and the tea water began to boil again, something subtle yet unmistakable filled the room, a shared understanding that this evening meant more than any of them had expected. When Jung So-min returned from her brief phone call, the soft click of the door signaled her presence. She stepped back into the dining area with a polite smile, aware that moments earlier, her future had quietly shifted direction. The glow of the overhead light brushed softly against her features, accentuating the sincerity in her eyes, the calm grace in her posture. She apologized for stepping away, lightly as she took her seat again. Mrs. Jung reassured her immediately, "Please, don't worry. You must be busy." But the smile in the older woman's eyes revealed something deeper, an acceptance, a fondness that hadn't existed an hour earlier. The conversation resumed, but now it carried a different warmth. The parents asked more personal questions, not invasive, but curious in a gentle, affectionate way. They asked about her favorite foods, what brought her comfort on difficult days, what she hoped to achieve outside of acting, and whether she enjoyed quiet weekends as much as their son did. The answer she gave seemed to charm them further. She spoke honestly, slyly laughing at herself when she admitted she still didn't know how to cook kimchi stew properly, and that she tended to water her plants too much out of fear they would wilt without attention. It was this simplicity, this unpolished, human softness, that made her so different from the glamorous image fans saw on screen. On television, she often played strong-willed heroines, witty characters, or women who wielded confidence like a second language. But here, in the heart of Hanam-dong, she was just Jung So-min, thoughtful, gentle, a little hesitant, yet deeply sincere. This version of herself that quietly captured the hearts of Jung Hae's parents. But the moment that sealed their feelings came unexpectedly. Mrs. Jung rose to bring dessert, fresh fruit she had prepared earlier. She winced slightly, pressing a hand to her lower back. Before anyone could react, So-min stood up, movements instinctive rather than polite. "Please let me help you," she said, her voice filled with soft concern. Without hesitation, she supported Mrs. Jung with a light touch, guiding her carefully to the kitchen. You disappeared behind the doorway, and for a moment, the house grew quiet. In the living room, Mr. Jung glanced at his son, softened in a way reserved only for rare, meaningful moments. "She notices things," he murmured. "Not many people do." He didn't respond verbally, but his expression, filled with quiet gratitude, said enough. When the women returned with a beautifully arranged fruit platter, something had clearly shifted. Mrs. Jung's smile had changed. It was no longer the polite smile one offers a guest, but the warm, tender smile of someone who feels genuinely touched. She revealed to her son later that in those few minutes in the kitchen, So-min had asked you if she was taking medicine regularly, if she needed help with physical therapy exercises, whether the stairs in the house ever made her feel unsteady. Questions that only someone deeply attentive would think to ask. After dessert, as everyone settled once more in the living room, Mr. Jung cleared his throat, a gesture subtle but firm enough to draw attention. He didn't look at his wife or his son first, instead focused on So-min, who sat across from him with her hands folded neatly in her lap. The room grew still. "You are very different from how I imagined," he began, his voice steady but gentle. "I've seen you act, of course. You are impressive. The woman sitting here tonight, she is much more thoughtful than the characters you portray." So-min blinked, surprised, then lowered her gaze slightly, stirred by the unexpected sincerity. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, voice barely audible. "I was worried I might seem awkward." Mr. Jung chuckled softly. "Awkwardness is not a flaw. It is honesty. And honesty is rare." He paused, letting his words settle. "If my son chooses someone like you, I would have no objections." His eyes warmed even further. "In fact, I would be glad." It landed with a weight of significance, heavy, deep, and unmistakably heartfelt. And simply permission, it was a blessing. The kind of blessing that, and families, carries a meaning so profound that no other announcement is needed. It was the line that changed everything. The line that made fans later gasp, cry, and replay the leaked audio clip 1,000 times online. Jung Hae inhaled sharply, filmed by a mix of relief and gratitude. He wasn't the type to express emotion loudly. Slight tremor in his breath, the softening of his eyes, told everything he felt in that moment. What neither of them realized was that this deeply private conversation would soon ripple into the public sphere. A relative visiting at the home that evening overheard the remark and later shared it, innocently but carelessly, with a close friend. That friend, in turn, mentioned it in a small online community, and within hours, the entire internet was ablaze. Headlines flooded every major portal. Jung Hae's father confirms approval of young So-min. Meeting reveals surprising truth about their relationship. Parents call her future bride, fans in shock. Fans across the world reacted emotionally, some screamed, some cried. Some said they felt their souls leave their bodies. Flooded social media with phrases like "this is basically a marriage blessing," and "I knew it." Their chemistry was too real. Meanwhile, analysts on entertainment programs debated the meaning behind the phrase "I would be glad." In Korean family culture, words carry significant emotional weight. Suggest acceptance, support, and genuine affection. It was more than permission, it was approval. Back in Hanam-dong, oblivious to the online explosion, the evening continued with soft laughter and warm conversations. When it was time to leave, the night air greeted them with a gentle chill. They stepped outside. The dim lights along the stone pathway gave off a serene glow. So-min paused, back to look at the house with a lingering expression, a gentle smile that seemed to carry both gratitude and disbelief. Han walked beside her, holding the door open as she slid into the car. Movements tender and unhurried. In the quiet that followed, something unspoken passed between them. Not a confession, not a promise, but a mutual understanding, one that resonated deeper than words. A future, once uncertain, seemed quietly illuminated. Meanwhile, inside the home, Mr. and Mrs. Jung watched from the doorway. Mrs. Jung murmured to her husband, "She has a kind soul." Her husband nodded, replying softly, "He chose well." Though the night soon melted into dawn, leaving Hanam-dong in its usual stillness, the warmth of that evening lingered in the hearts of everyone who had witnessed, even indirectly, the blossoming of something profoundly genuine. What began as a simple family dinner had turned into a revelation, a blessing, and a story that fans will continue to cherish long after the first whispers fade. In a world of flashing lights and fleeting rumors, this night stood as a reminder that real tenderness, quiet, sincere, and deeply human, still exists. And for Jung Hae and young So-min, it marked the moment their private world gently stepped into the light. embraced not by scandal, but by love.